Hi, I'm Victor Margiotta, and this is the Community Show. Thank you for watching. First off, I'd like to congratulate John Testa on being the Grand Marshal of the Peekskill Parade. And, John's done an enormous amount of work in the city of Peekskill, and we're actually going to be talking about Peekskill. My guest tonight is Chuck Newman, who is gracious enough to come on the show, and who has been doing an enormous amount of work in Peekskill also. But I'd also like to mention William Powers, who was commended for his work in Peekskill, and he does an enormous amount for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I just wanted to say hi to Bill too, and thanks for all your work. Chuck, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Good
This
to be
is
back.
great. Yeah, I can't believe it's over a year. It's like a year and 5 months.
Time flies, Victor.
It does. And I actually watched the show last night. It was excellent. It was an excellent show.
Thank you. And I'm happy you invited me back.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, you could YouTube it. It's on YouTube, and it was
I'll look for
Chuck.
it.
Yeah. So first, it is the community show, and community.
Sure.
The cornerstone is the family. So
Absolutely.
I can't help but ask how your family's doing.
Oh, it's so nice of you. Thank you. I'm a Peekskill, not born and raised, but my grandfather came to Peekskill in 1933. My dad grew up here. My dad and mom's, both their families were in the same two-family house on Academy Street for a while. My dad would have been 90 on Monday. He's passed about 10 years. But Mom, still here in Peekskill, and happy to say that she's doing great. And as far as my family, we've got two beautiful daughters. Our older daughter's married and living on the West Coast. And our younger one lives here in Brooklyn, works in Manhattan. So we're lucky to have them around.
Well, there's no secrets on Facebook, and since we've got to be friends,
Yes.
and friends on Facebook, I saw that you went away.
Yeah, I don't post a lot of vacation photos, but my wife and I had not been on a 2-week vacation since our honeymoon 35 years ago. So this is our second honeymoon. It's our 35th year, so we figured let's do it and splurge, and we went to Hawaii.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
great.
our longest trip since our honeymoon. It was wonderful. Thanks
How was
for
the
asking.
flight and all?
It wasn't terrible. It was about 11
Wow,
hours,
yeah.
and get up, walk around, drink some water, use a lot of hand sanitizer, and you're pretty good.
Oh, that's so great. And were there any volcano activities?
You know
over
what?
there?
Hawaii had some eruptions. I guess it was about last year this time. There's no live lava flows right now. We did see some steam vents. If you ever get to Hawaii, Volcanoes National Park is amazing.
Yeah.
We walked across a lava lake. Of course, it wasn't hot lava, but that's where we saw some steam vents. We're up by Mount Kilauea.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that was on the Big Island. The Big Island is the island of Hawaii. I think there are about 6 islands total in the chain. And we spent some time there and on Kauai. And Kauai is actually the rainiest place on Earth, at least parts of it. And it's known as the Garden Island because it's so lush and green. So it's quite different from being on the Big Island where the volcanoes are, because that's very barren and just covered with lava flows.
That's incredible.
Super interesting.
Definitely. So, there's the art of living, which I feel like you've mastered.
Boy, I don't know if I've done that, but thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it's such a beautiful thing that you've raised 2 beautiful daughters, and that they're out on their own now, and what a great accomplishment.
Yeah, we're very blessed. I think the key thing, I don't even know if I said this last time if you asked me, but is confidence. If your children are confident, they can make their way in this world. If they're calling you every 5 minutes and texting you and asking you what should I do, it's going to be pretty rough for them.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of parents that are called helicopter parents, where they're kind of always looking at their kids' work when they're in school and managing and micromanaging them. It's not the way to instill confidence in your children, and you have to let them sometimes find out on their own and fail on their own so that they'll succeed. But my secret for that is summer camp. I always advocate when parents ask me about, how'd you raise your girls? I say, well, we try to instill a lot of confidence, but when you send them away on their own for a sleepaway camp, if you're lucky enough to be able to do that, they get to learn on their own that they can make it, and they can make it amongst their peers, and hopefully establish relationships of their own. And I think that engenders a tremendous amount of confidence.
Speaking of parenting, you know, when I was a kid, my parents kind of used the TV as a little bit of a babysitter. You know, we got dropped in front of the TV, and it wasn't horrible, especially back then. We had, you know, some quality shows like Star Trek, Little House on the Prairie.
Partridge Family.
Yeah, you know, there was some morals involved, you know. But it seems like the problem today is these cell phones, and you know, they're saying that it takes away the imagination, and
That could be. I mean, if everything is presented to you without you having to create things for yourself or understand things for yourself, that definitely, I think, could take away from your ability to imagine. I think the key is reading.
Yeah.
And I'm always advocating, I don't get enough time to read as much as I want, but I'm always plowing my way through 2 or 3 books at a time and pick up one and put down the other because I'm just so interested in the subject matter. I have a few favorites, but I'm happy to share with you. And they just, what I like about that is that you experience it. It's not always fiction that I read either, a lot of nonfiction, but you get to go into different worlds that you might not experience yourself and explore those through the eyes of the folks in the book.
yeah. Well, they say it is so, you know, imperative that you read to your children, even if, you know,
For sure.
just to sit down time
And have them read on their own when they're able to.
You know, and I know the Rotary Club sponsors a book program.
Actually, my sister's been very involved with that. My sister, Diane Kahn.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Diane. She never really left the area. She lived in Briarcliff and raised her family there, but moved into Cortland Manor in the past 4 years, and has gotten very involved with the Rotary Club and has been deeply involved in the project, Literacy Lovers, to bring more books to more children around Peekskill.
You know what it is? The community. Everybody needs to get involved. And, you know, when you know these things, like literacy is important, reading books to your kids is important, the message has to get out. And that's what, you know, is so important. I think just having this show and talking, you know, about things like this, and people, you know, getting these ideas, you know, and experiencing, you know, knowledge and
Hopefully.
being able, yeah,
Hopefully, it's because I think people really find that they enjoy it. It frees up their imagination and hopefully develops a thirst for knowledge.
That's key, because
It really is.
you know, knowledge is power,
I
and
think so.
you know, and to be empowered means to be able to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
You know?
All goes, it's circular, right? Goes all the
Yeah.
way back to being
You know,
confident.
and then achieving goals. And, you know, speaking about achieving goals now, you were involved in the AIM project.
Sure.
Let's talk about that.
Sure. AIM, for those your viewers who aren't aware, Art Industry Media AIM. They can go to artindustrymedia.org. It is a division of the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce. It was formed about 4 years ago. The first AIM weekend was 3 years ago. And what that was an effort to shine a spotlight on the multimedia businesses that are in and around the Peekskill area in the lower Hudson Valley. Really, the chamber area from Croton all the way up through Peekskill to Garrison and into Putnam County, because this area has really become a hub of web design, of film production, of music production, of television post-production. So we're very fortunate to have these businesses here, and we in the chamber wanted to create this network for them and to kind of get the word out that this is a place that's very friendly to these businesses. We want more of them here. We're fortunate to have Westchester Community College here with a media lab right in the center of Peekskill. Students at Westchester Community College are learning a lot about all of the above that I just mentioned, from web design to film. So AIM was the brainchild of Ben Green. Ben is the owner of the Hat Factory on North Division Street. It's about 100,000 square feet of commercial space. And Ben had noticed, probably going back 5 years ago or so, that most of it was rented out, leased out to these media companies, and just thought there's a new paradigm that's happening here. We're 1 hour by train from Manhattan. It's much more affordable to live here. We're getting a lot of transplants coming up from Brooklyn and from other parts of the city because it is affordable, but they're bringing their creative energies with them. So again, why not shine a spotlight on that? So the first weekend was in 2018. We had a big kickoff at the Hudson Valley Museum of Contemporary Art. And there were a variety of activities throughout the city of Peekskill that weekend. Both, I don't know if you're familiar with TED Talks, and if you know Bree Pettis, Bree is the owner of Bantam Tools, which is down on Water Street. Bree moved his business here from Berkeley, California. He's in the business of designing these machines, creating machines that can make circuit boards and are used to make various industrial components. Anyway, he has a great talk that he does. He calls it the future of everything. And he may have done it on TED Talks. There's a TED radio hour that's on NPR. Basically, people who are visionary, creative folks who talk about what they've done in their lives and in different aspects of their careers or to develop a business. So that's one very interesting aspect of the AIM program. So he did that in 18 and again in 19, and I think he'll be reprising that this year in 2020. But that was just one aspect of it. We brought in folks from from Westchester County Economic Development. We had a forum talking about economic development in this area, workforce development, because with the impending closure of Indian Point and the reduction of jobs, it's super important to create other avenues for people to have work here.
For sure. Now, there's a whole board that's been assembled.
There is. Since we're part of the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce, everyone is part of the chamber as well. But it's a division. It's a part of the Chamber of Commerce. But we function as more or less a committee to both develop the weekend and to advertise it and market it. This year, Jeff Cabelli of Good For You Productions has taken over leadership of AIM from Ben. So Ben handed it off after putting it together, running it for the first couple of years, making it a huge success. When AIM emails are sent out about the weekend, marketing emails, they're opened by thousands of people now, and AIM posts on Facebook are shared thousands of times. It's super interesting how this has really kind of developed way above and beyond what our expectations were for it.
That's awesome.
It really is.
You know.
I mean, to see something here in Peekskill, having you and I have been around Peekskill a long time, we've seen the high points and the low points, and now we're kind of really at a great era in Peekskill where we're attracting a lot of businesses and development. You and I were talking about that a little bit before, and also this excitement about this kind of industry that's here.
Well, like you said, the projects, like the filming, you know, it's so expensive to do it down in the city.
Sure.
And, you know, to block off a road or to do anything down there is like a major production. Whereas if they can do it here, it's well, for one thing, more affordable. Yeah. And then a little less chaotic, you know, as far as, you know, setting up film crews and everything else.
Yeah, there's been AIM does not cross over to that, although we would help facilitate any film industry folks that wanted to come up and do shoots here. Mildred Pierce, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when Mildred Pierce was shot here for HBO. I think there was a Richard Gere movie shot here a few years before that. So there have been movies and TV even shot in Peekskill, but this is more for the back end stuff, the production work, the post-production. The Foley studio, Les Bloom has Alchemy Post Sound out in the Hat Factory that does these Emmy Award winning Foley studio, which produces sound that's overlaid on film and on television. That's all done right here in Peekskill.
I did go online and I looked at the AIM website and the Peekskill Arts, and it's awesome. They really did a nice job, and the few interviews that they did was excellent.
Yeah, those will be coming, what you're referring to is kind of the spotlight on a few of the folks that, and Bree Pettis was one, and Steve Ehrenberg from Early Electrics, which is also next to Bree's business on Water Street. Jeff Cabelli, I think, did one. So that's to kind of highlight some of the folks that are involved in this kind of movement that we've got going here.
Now they want to try and put a like a arts center.
Sure.
And it's funny because it's been kind of an artist town. It's going
It
on
has
20
been.
years.
It has been.
But they don't have this.
There's no home for the
Right.
artists, and that's key. I'm glad you mentioned that. My mom, Rashi Newman's a Peekskill artist. She's been started in the 70s with what was called the Peekskill Area Arts Council. Now it's the Peekskill Art Alliance. And from that time to this, there's never been a home for the artist community that's here. So again, this is something that I have to give kudos to Ben Green. This is his vision to have a home for arts in Peekskill. That will be the Peekskill Arts Center on North James Street, right off Main Street. It's only a couple blocks from where we are today.
Yeah.
And the business that Ben is running will be the Peekskill Art and Media Center. It's a 25,000 square foot former warehouse that's being built out that will house partially a nonprofit called the Peekskill Arts Center. And the Peekskill Arts Center will be a place where the Peekskill Art Alliance could have space to do classes, to do lectures, to do instruction, to have offices. In addition, there will be some commercial space, could be rented out by artists, could be studio space as well. But the plan is to have both film and black box theater. So we're going to have independent film right here in Peekskill. You don't have to drive to Manhattan for it, and there will be a space for it'll be space that could be repurposed for theater troupes that want to put on in those black box small studio space, and they'll at the current plan is also to have a coffee roaster there, so it's going to smell great. The whole place is going to smell amazing.
All right.
And keep you up at night too.
That just reminded me of, when I was working at the Paradise. Eat at the Paradise.
Love the Paradise.
There would be like a half a pot of espresso would come back. And me thinking, oh, I'll just have a little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah, I go home 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm up till 4 in the morning.
Oh, sure. Yeah. For me, I wouldn't sleep at all. That's for sure.
Now they're doing a film festival in
Yes.
Peekskill.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I think this might be the 4th or 5th year for the Peekskill Film Festival. That's at the Paramount. And film's always been important here in Peekskill. The Paramount, as you probably know, started as a movie palace in 1930. It's got 1,100 seats, though, so you really need to have a big film if you want to have that feeling. But here with the film weekend, you have independent films. They're curated, and you can feel comfortable knowing that these are films that you're going to enjoy when you go see them.
Yeah. Well, they're pushing the high school kids to get involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. So part of what we're trying to do here in town, when I say we, I'm on the board of the chamber, active with AIM, with the Peekskill Arts Center, just involved in the business community. But the whole business community recognizes the fact that the children here are the future of this town. We want to keep them here after they graduate. We want to have job opportunities for them here. So part of that is making sure that they're interested in what's going on, that they're involved in what's going on, and that they can have input into what's going on. So they're creating films. They're creating films that will be shown. Another part, that's not related to film, is that there's a great robotics team here at the high school. And so we've gotten involved with helping support and fund some of that, the robotics team, and they even went to the state, not to the state, to national finals in the past year or two. So amazing the ingenuity that kids have, and that they just need a little helping hand to make sure that they get that extra bit of encouragement so that they're really engaged with it.
Now, you're involved in a fundraising for research, funding a cure for
polycystic kidney disease.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my dad had polycystic kidney disease. I mentioned at the beginning of the program, he's gone 10 years. So what polycystic kidney disease, 600,000 Americans have it. It's not that widespread. It's known as a rare disease. So it's very difficult to get drug companies to really focus on a cure for it. But what it is, it's genetic. It's a genetic disease. You can't catch it. You don't develop it. It's purely genetic. There are instances where people have it which they had no family history, but they're pretty rare. So it affects entire families. And my dad had it, and he passed that gene to me and both my sisters. What it means is that we have cysts on our kidneys. We, three of us, all have great function, and we have the benefit of this knowledge that we can do the best we can to eat a healthy diet, to exercise, to keep heart healthy, so that at such time that our kidneys don't function as well as they do today, we'll have more resources to fight that. But typically what happens is at some point, could be in your 70s, 80s, or you could die with it and never have a issue with your kidneys. But at some point, if your kidneys do stop functioning well, then you might need to go on dialysis or need a kidney transplant, both of which my dad needed.
Now, what are you doing for fundraisers?
We have a couple events a year, typically in the spring, and we're not doing one this year, but we'll do, in White Plains, we've done cocktails for the cure, and raise a little money with that, and raise awareness about it, and just make sure that people in the Hudson Valley know that there's a community here that they can get information from and that is willing to share information. And then in the fall, we do a walk that's been held in Valley Cottage for the past few years at Rockland Lake State Park. It's typically in the first weekend in October, before Columbus Day weekend. And we try to raise, this year I think we raised close to $40,000 to $45,000. It all goes to the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation. That's pkdcure.org for anyone at home. And it goes to fund research to find a cure.
There are so many avenues to get involved, and there's just one more chance to get involved. If you want to get into the community and do some volunteer work.
There are always opportunities.
There's always.
In fact, one of the nonprofits that I support is called Volunteer New York. So if any one of your viewers is looking for a way to get involved in any kind of nonprofit or to help any kind of nonprofit, go to volunteernewyork.org, and they will list opportunities to volunteer.
I mean, there's so many avenues, but that's a great suggestion, because not only are you, volunteering and making a difference in the community, but you're meeting people,
Sure. And what people don't realize is that volunteering can be very meaningful and very fun. I've been volunteering my entire life, literally, because my dad was the president of the Peekskill Lions Club. He had me out when I was 5 or 6 years old, selling light bulbs and leaf bags, door to door, all around here, Verplanck, Montrose, Buchanan, Peekskill, Cortland.
And that's where it starts.
That's where it started.
It was instilled in you.
Absolutely.
That you had. For me, it was my sister. She taught Sunday school, Miss Vicky, when I was, a little kid. So I always thought, well, someday I'm going to have to do it, and I did. I taught religious
it's an obligation, but it's
20
also something that's meaningful for you, right?
It's true, and I kind of lost my patience at the end there, but I did
a little
it for 20 years. So
I think you put your time in
yeah,
there.
it's somebody else's turn. That's all.
Good for you. No, that's a great job. I am fortunate that not only in my personal life, but in my work life, in my business, we work with many nonprofits. And it's wonderful because we get to give back to them in so many different ways. And they need all the assistance they can get, especially at this time. So many events are being canceled, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult for them.
Talk about when this the AIM festival is supposed to be.
18th, it's the 18th of April.
Okay.
Again, on artindustrymedia.com, there'll be an entire schedule. I don't think it's been posted yet, but it's going to be a full day of events in and around Peekskill.
All right, we'll get a little bit off topic.
Sure.
They're building a high-rise right in the middle of Peekskill.
Oh yeah, there's so much development going on in Peekskill. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
Peekskill's been found because it's walkable, because it's diverse, because it has that old housing stock that fortunately some of it was torn down in the 60s under urban renewal. A lot of it wasn't. So it has a great vibe and a great look to it. And I think a lot of young people are looking for the walkability. They're looking for the 1-hour train ride to Grand Central. They're looking for the ability to put your kayak in right in Peekskill Bay and go kayaking, or to go hiking at Blue Mountain or at Bear Mountain or in Harriman Park. So I think for all those reasons and the affordability, Peekskill's just in the right moment right now.
It is. Like you said, it's only an hour on the train
Right.
to get to Manhattan. And then, a lot of these millennials are looking more for the apartment rather
Sure.
than the house,
Yeah, they don't want mortgages many times or cars. The oldest millennials now are 38 or 39.
Okay.
They comprise 75% of the workforce
There you go.
in this country. So you don't realize the baby boomers aren't the biggest generation in our workforce anymore.
Yeah.
Millennials are, and they're setting kind of the rules for how they want to live. It's not the way that my wife and I have, but
Yeah.
it works for them.
It's not a bad idea, high rises, because it reduces the amount of land used for, and we do have our animal friends that need their.
Well,
you know?
Peekskill at the end of the day is a city. And so to have a high-rise apartment building should just be a natural thing for Peekskill, especially in the downtown. It always had apartment buildings. Now they're just going to be a bit bigger. But the one that's going up on Brown Street and Broad Street, I think it's a company from Yonkers, and it's going to be over 140 apartments, I believe, with retail space, a pedestrian plaza above the retail space, parking underneath the building. It's a major construction project.
It's fabulous. The only thing I could think is the parking.
It's going to be there. There's going to be
Okay.
some. I mean, they're going to have their own parking.
Yeah.
I think most of the projects, there's another one that's going to be that Bill Bolter is doing between Main Street and Central Avenue. That will have parking on under it as well. So there's a recognition that there's a need to have their own parking.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
My
Joe.
pleasure.
And my viewers are happy that you came on, and that Peekskill is beautiful. Get out, enjoy Peekskill, the restaurants, the art, everything. I'm Victor Margiotta. This is the Community Show. Thank you for watching.